Hello, 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 welcome back to Hunter Tuned. Today we are working on the truck. This is the Turbo 5.3 pickup truck that we have been working on for the last couple months. And man, we have gotten a lot of stuff done on this thing, and I'm really excited to show you guys and hopefully get some track results and some dyno results. But we have been just kind of working out a few bugs, trying to get everything to work properly. And I wanted to share some stuff with you guys today. So I did get the truck running good. We swapped over the Trailblazer SS intake manifold. We got a set of China big fuel rails for the intake. We have went through and I pulled the fuel tank out of the truck, and it actually has a set of dual, I believe they're Aeromotive fuel pumps in there. So there's two pumps in the tank. We have a Holley fuel regulator with dash 8 coming up, dash 6 going back. And I have an ethanol content sensor wired in to the fuel line. So I wanted to talk to you guys about placement of the ethanol content sensor if you're really leaning on a setup. So this truck, I had the ethanol content sensor for the Holley, and I used the sloppy plug-and-play alternator flex combo harness, which is really slick. It literally plugs directly into the Holley. It's a plug-and-play deal. You have to connect one wire for the flex sensor, and that is it. The one wire I did have to connect was right here. It's the white, sorry if you can't see this stuff. It is the white and blue input for the Holley. So it's the first input. It's already set up. If you use the sloppy base tunes, the white and blue wire controls the is for the flex input, and then you have to set it up on the computer, which I used a sloppy base file. I'll show you guys that in a minute. But like I said, I ran the content sensor, and I used that plug and play harness. Everything plugged in great, and I plumbed the system here. And what the issue I had is I put ethanol in the tank, and it registered 60% when I had, I just had a little bit of pump gas left in the car, and I put, I think, 20 bucks worth of E85 in it, and the content came up to 60%, which is believable, and everything was doing good. I set up the tune a little bit for flex, and I went out and I got into it. Truck picked up a good amount of power, and it shifted into high gear, and it lost power. Like, I could feel it kind of nose over, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? And well, I'm gonna bring up the data logs right now, and I'm gonna show you guys what went on with the trucks during that run. All right, guys, so I have the Terminator X software pulled up here, and I just wanted to show you kind of what the flex fuel stuff does. Obviously here, your inputs and outputs, you're gonna have to go on the Terminator X, click inputs and outputs, and then number 1, I labeled flex fuel. And like I said, I used the sloppy base tune. I think it's like it's labeled like Smart Fan Flex something on the sloppy wiki page. I used that to kind of reference off of to enable the flex. And Matt also has a very good video on explaining a lot of this stuff. So if you guys have questions, definitely go check out his video. So the flex fuel goes into pin 1 here, that white and blue wire. It is a digital speed frequency type sensor. And then when you configure it, it's already set up. You just have to go in here and set up GM flex fuel. Very easy stuff. And then under advanced tables here, we have the flex setup, so it's going to automatically compensate fuel percentage as we increase the amount of ethanol in the tank. So, if we have over, 50%, it's adding 20, 70%, it's adding 26, and it's just a linear curve here. And Matt said that this works good, and I can verify that because I poured ethanol in my closed loop fuel trim, because the car was already tuned on pump gas. I just added this multiplier in, and the closed loop fuel trim was within 5% pretty much everywhere. So that is awesome. This setting does work very well. And then table 2, I have a target air fuel ratio offset, which is pretty much going to pull fuel out when it has more ethanol. So it's going to run a little leaner air fuel. That's how I have that set up. I'm just pulling a little bit for now. I may change these values later. But pretty much anything above 60%, 55%, it's pulling 3/10 of an air fuel point. So instead of running like 11.5, it's going to run 11.8 type of thing. So like my target air fuel, if I have 11.8, it's going to run 12.1. Or if I have 11.5, it's going to run 11.8 type of thing. So back to the 1D table here. And then the last multiplier table that I ran is a timing offset. So this setup is going to add an additional 6 degrees of timing if it has above 60% ethanol. And it's going to be a linear slope, anything less than that. So if it only has 30% E85 in it, it's only going to add 3 degrees. And if it's only got 7%, it's only going to add, you know, a half a degree or 1 degree. So that's how that's set up, and everything is working very good with that. But I will show you an issue that I did have on a data log here. So this is one of the data logs that I pulled with the truck, and this is just a quick little burst on the street. So we're coming up here on the shift. So this truck shifts like 65, 6600, you know, about 16 pounds of boost. And 60% flex fuel content in the tank. So that is doing very good, but you can see this green line right here is our ethanol content. So when we first start off in the pull, you know, we have 58, 60%, you know, of E85 content. We roll into it, it gets a lot of G-force, and it sloshes the fuel around a little bit, and it demanded a lot of fuel coming up into boost, and it actually aerated the fuel system a little bit, and the ethanol content dropped down to 37%, even though I didn't change, you know, anything in the tank. I came up on the shift, it bounced back to 60%, and then it hit the next gear, and you can see it just steadily was dropping content. So this is just ethanol content dropping, and I'm saying that is because where I had the ethanol content sensor placed, it was on the return line of the fuel setup. So Matt actually recommends that you run the ethanol content sensor on a feed line, and this truck I'll show you guys when I go back outside. But I mean, way at the end of the pull here, guys, it was registering 9% flex fuel. So definitely have to fix this, and I think I did, and I'm gonna go do another pull with the truck and see kind of if I fixed this issue. But I will show you, let's see here. Drag race. Fuel pressure. So you guys can see my fuel pressure is fairly level. It hits a gear and it dips like 5 psi or so right here. This yellow line is my fuel pressure. So when we're going through, making the run, the fuel pressure is staying consistent. So I know that the fuel pumps are not completely out of fuel yet. Like I said, this has a twin pump setup, but when you start making a lot of horsepower and you're working the fuel pumps, sometimes in the return line of the system, it will aerate the fuel, which means it will, instead of having a steady, completely steady stream of fuel going through the return line, how it does normally, when you're working the system, and if you aerate it at all, say like, you know, the return line doesn't have a complete full fuel line full of fuel, if you get any little air pockets in the fuel line, the content sensor will register as nothing. So that's why the fuel pressure was kind of dropping like that. And like I said, I'm going to show you right now. What I'm doing to try to alleviate this issue. I don't know if this is going to fix it, but we're going to try. So beforehand, coming off of the regulator, this fuel system is set up where it has 2 feeds coming in the back, 2 individual lines going to each rail, and then it has 2 individual lines coming off of the front of the rails, and those 2 lines are coming off right here. So both of these are both fuel rails. So this is one bank, this is the other bank, and they're both going into each side of a Holley regulator. So one fuel rail goes into this side, one fuel rail goes into this side, and then off the bottom is where the return goes back to the tank. So hopefully that makes sense. But I had the content sensor on the return going back to the tank. I changed this setup by putting the content sensor on one of these banks instead. So before it actually hits the regulator is where the content sensor is now. And I'm gonna go try it again, not change anything else, and see if we can get that fuel, flex fuel content to stay consistent. Alrighty guys, so I'm out in Mexico and I got my data logger set up here, about to start a data log. This truck is really fun, especially when it registers the right ethanol content. So we're gonna give this thing a little bit of a street hit and then check the data log when we get back. Another thing I forgot to mention is we actually put a cruise control module back in this truck, so you just hit the button like you do factory and we got cruise control. Works great. No foot on the pedal, just cruising, boy. This truck is so awesome, guys. I really can't wait to show you more now that the build is kind of entering you know, the final stages. We got a lot of the, you know, hard stuff done, and now it's time to enjoy and tune this truck and show you what an awesome rig that we built. This is truly a one-off truck. All right, got the logger started. Let's hit it. This thing flies. That's only on like 15 pounds of boost right now. It creeps up to about 17. And yeah, guys, air fuel is definitely still a little rich. I don't know why, but when I command like an 11.8 on the extra wideband that we have wired in the truck, it shows like a 10.8. So I don't know if I have to maybe configure some stuff a little different, but that pull definitely made some good power, guys. I might do one more before we head back, and then we'll pull up the computer and check it all over again. Start one more data log here, and we're going to hit it in first gear and try a first to second gear run instead of a 2-3. This thing's got a 31-inch tall tire, so it doesn't hit third gear until like 110 mile an hour, which, you know, if you're a little saucy like I feel, you know, you'll be all right with that, but we might have to hit the track to really see how this thing feels. Okay, so we got the data log started. We're going to hit it here, first gear, rolling from 5. Alright, it just blew the tires right off. I literally, like, I felt it spin and I got back out of it to about 50% throttle. Yeah, this thing's just nuts. And it's not even on that much boost or that much timing for that matter. So I just stopped the data log there, and we're just gonna cruise back, probably roll the window up here and turn the air conditioning on. Man, what a beast this thing is. The AC in this truck is colder than any Cadillac I've driven, let me tell you. And it's a turbo LS. I can't wait to chuck this thing on the dyno too and show you guys how much power it really makes. Alright guys, so we just got back from testing the truck out, and everything is doing good. This is that first pull that we did that I data logged. And you guys can see here, we are running 17.5 degrees, which is an additional amount of ignition compared to my base table. Good air fuel, 18 pounds, 72 pounds of fuel pressure. Everything looking good. So if we go and look at our flex content, 60%. And we can scroll through here and it stays 60%, 59, 60, 59, 60, pretty much the whole time. So that is awesome. I have to rescale the flex sensor here because it's still like really skewed. Just the way that the graph is set up, it doesn't, you know, like going from way up here to way down here is a difference of 1%. This is 1% change, so it looks a lot worse than it actually is. And like way down here, at these really low points, is 59% as well. So yeah, never got below 59% the whole time. I just have to rescale this a little bit so it's not looking crazy like this. But truck's running really good. Yeah. Alright guys, so now that I showed you the data logs before and after changing that flex sensor, it seemed like it definitely helped out a lot, and we got our ignition timing that I was commanding. So like I said, I didn't touch ignition timing or anything on the tune, and we made more ignition timing and made probably more power because the content was stable on the tune. It wasn't dipping, you know, down to 20% or 10% or whatever it was before, and pulling our timing back down to like 12 degrees. So yeah, this truck seems to be running really good. We might be taking it to the track tomorrow like I had mentioned. Just got to do a few other little things to it. I did add a cruise control module like I was saying in the video. I still have to wire the two-step, which shouldn't be a big deal. I just have to get a push button or something to ground this wire right here. This wire goes to the second input on the Holley. Which is the white and red wire. And that wire just needs to see ground signal, and if it sees a ground signal, it activates the two-step, and you can set the two-step at, you know, 25, 3 grand, 3,500, whatever you want, so the truck launches good. So, pretty impressive truck, honestly, because these tires in the rear are ginormous, and they are an ET Street. So, 31 inches in diameter, 10 wide, I believe they are, and they are an ET Street, and it's boiling them off on the street. So definitely making some good power to do that with those tires. If this thing had any normal truck tires on it, I'm sure we would boil the tires at highway speed, and we will test that. But I've just been putting this truck through its paces, and you know, doing everything I can to make sure this truck is just going to be super awesome for the guy when he picks it up. I gotta touch this up on the intercooler pipe. I definitely got a couple paint chips on it, so we'll probably touch that up a little bit. I have to install one of these rings. So from 269 Motorsports, they sell these exhaust rings on eBay, and we're gonna be installing this exhaust ring over our new fender exit exhaust on the truck. So that's going to sit around there. It's going to look awesome. I just got to rivet it in. I'm going to do a few more small touches on the truck, and maybe take it to the track tomorrow, depending on if they're really busy or not, if we can actually get up there and make a couple passes. If so, I will bring you guys along for testing the truck out at the track, and then we're just going to keep tuning on it from there for the next couple weeks, and then the guy's going to pick it up and he's going to have a huge road trip with it. And then he's just going to proceed to enjoy the truck afterwards. So we're going to just try to do as much as we can to verify this truck to be as good as it possibly can. So obviously, if you guys have not known, this is a truck that we actually integrated all the factory functions on. And it is running a Holley Terminator X to control the engine, but it still has all the factory gauges working. It has factory air conditioning, factory cruise control. The fans are working. You know, obviously you can do that with the Holley, but you know, everything is controlled, working like factory. The security system on the truck still works. The key fob still works. The speedometer works with the Holley and the stock cluster. I mean, everything, guys. We did a really awesome job with this thing. If you guys want to know some overview stuff, maybe drop some comments down below of what you want me to go over in particular. But yeah, that's probably going to be it for now. There's a lot of commotion going on in this engine bay, but it is a very factory functioning vehicle, and I'm very proud of what we've done. So this car may be coming on the channel soon. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it. Today's kind of a little bittersweet because we did get rid of our Subaru. I had a 2011 WRX, and we actually ended up selling that car today. It was my girlfriend's daily driver, and we got rid of it to clear up some debt. And you know, we might have some plans in the future for, you know, reasons of clearing that debt. I guess, you know, some future plans possibly for Hunter Tuned. But yeah, we had to get rid of the car, and it kind of sucked because we really liked that car. We've had it for like the last 4 or 5 years. But, you know, it's kind of one of them things where you got a loan on something and it takes forever to frickin' pay them off. Just get rid of it so you can pay it off and clear up, you know, a payment or whatever. But anyways, enough babbling. Thanks for watching the video, guys. Have a great night and a better tomorrow.